Okay, in today's lesson I'm going to show you how to use the pen tool in Illustrator to take an image from the internet and make it into a vector drawing. In the last lesson we used live trace, which is a quick way of doing it. Doesn't provide always the best results, but it is the quickest way to do it. This one takes quite a bit more practice and patience, and it's this tool over here on the tool panel. It's called the pen tool. The other tools we'll be using in today's lesson will be the selection tool and the direct selection tool, and I'll make reference to them when we're changing. While we're talking about the tools, you might notice that some of these tools have little arrows in the right hand corner of them. That indicates that there's multiple functions to these tools. If I left click on a particular tool and hold, you'll see a flyout menu open up and you have different functions that you can pick from. You'll also notice keyboard shortcuts here that become a shortcut when you become comfortable with the program. For this lesson I will just stay with the actual tools themselves. I won't use any of the shortcuts. So next thing we're going to do is you need to make sure that your layers window is open up over here, and it might already be. If it isn't open, you need to know where to find it. You need to go to Window and select Layers. Once the layers open up, I need you to double click on this layer and I need you to type background layer and click OK. What we've done is we've just changed the name of it. This is the image we brought in the last lesson as well. It's the same logo, and I've just given it a name, put it on a layer called background layer, and I can turn it off or turn it on. In this lesson we're going to need it turned on because we're using the pen tool. We're going to trace this shape. Next we're going to create a new layer because what we draw needs to be on a separate layer. I'm going to create a new layer here. We could give it a name if we want, but I'm going to have one layer here, so I'm just going to leave it as layer 2. Because I've just created it, it is the active layer, and we can go ahead and start drawing. I advise you though, when you are drawing, to try and get as much of whatever you're trying to draw on the screen at one time. You're going to be a lot more accurate. If you tried to trace this at this scale, you're not going to get very accurate. We can get a lot more accurate with it zoomed in a lot. And I'm at a point where I can start to see the pixelation, so that's a good sign. I'm going to click on the pen tool. It already is selected, and I'm going to start anywhere here. Click, and I'm just going to make another point here. Oh, okay, so there's the first point, and I'm going to click, and I'm holding the mouse button down. I haven't moved my mouse yet. I'm just holding the left mouse button down. You'll notice that it drew a straight line. Well, that's not exactly what we want, but while holding the mouse button down, if I move the mouse, you'll notice handles extend from the endpoint, and those handles allow me to change the shape of that line and really kind of control it. And we can always come back and change this later if I don't get it right. You'll notice when I let go that it drew a white section here. The reason why I did that is it's trying to fill in a shape, and the reasons why it's trying to fill in white is because my fill color right now is set to white. If I changed it to a different color, moving over here, if I changed it to like red or something, it's going to fill in red. Right now I don't want any color in this though. I want just no or none, so I'm going to click on none. Now we can just see the line, and that's my endpoint. That's the endpoint of the handle, and I'm just going to click here, and again if I click and drag I get the handles right away. Click and drag, get the handles right away, and you can see now I have to move. I can zoom in again if I want, and I'm not really too worried if I don't get it exactly right. I'll come back and fix that later. And again, I'm holding down the left mouse button and I'm going to click and drag, and that clicking and dragging allows me to change the shape and pull out the handles on that endpoint. These handles are called Besignon handles, and they allow you to shape the line. So I'm just going to keep drawing here. Click and drag. You'll notice I'm just trying to get the picture in the frame here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that's our last endpoint, and I'm going to click here, I'm going to click and drag, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click and drag. And you can see with practice you can get fairly good at it. You'll notice I can't get it perfect here, but I'll show you how to fix that later. I'm close. I'm just going to leave it like that. And don't worry if it's not perfect the first time. I am by no means an expert at this, and with not much practice. Okay, so I've done that first. Let's just zoom out so we can see it. I've done that first. It's not perfect. I'm going to show you how to fix it up now. Now we're going to go to the direct selection tool, and if we needed to touch any of the handles or manipulate any of the handles on these endpoints, we have to be in this mode. And if once we're in that mode, the direct selection tool, let's zoom in on something so I can get a better. Where do we want to start? Well, let's start right here. Okay, so there's one endpoint, there's another endpoint, and I'm not really following that line here. But if I click on this, I might be able to. That's not bad. Okay, I'm going to scroll around, and you can just kind of manipulate your way around. This looks pretty good. These handles don't affect the shape of it. They're not there. They're just there to allow you to shape it. So don't think that they're part of the drawing. They disappear when you put color in. You'll notice that I'm a little bit off here, so I'm going to click on this one. When I click on it, the handle should show up. And because I'm trying to fix this part of the line, I'm going to work this handle. If this part of the line needed fixing, I'd work that part. So I'm going to click on that handle, and you can see it's fixing it a little bit, but it's also looks like I need to work on this handle now. And sometimes it's just a matter of playing. If the handle disappears like you saw it just do there, just click again on the node and it'll appear. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now you notice it's not quite in the right spot here, but I think I can use this handle to stretch it out. Sometimes when you adjust one handle, you end up adjusting the other line. You just have to pay attention to that. I'm going to zoom in on this curve here because it's a little tricky. This one's pretty good. If I wanted to move like up to this point, I've just touched the nodes of the lines. If I want to actually move a point, same thing. I have to click on it, and I'm just moving that endpoint. That looks pretty good. There's something funny happening here, though. I'm going to do this, and it looks like something's wrong here. So I'm going to leave that like that for now. I think it's this one. Yeah, there we go. That's changing the shape of it. Right? The length of the line, the position of that handle changes everything. And that's pretty good. This one's out a little bit, so I don't have any handles. If I couldn't fix it with a handle, I could always add a point. I could add another node. If I can't fix the shape of this line to match the shape that I want, I could go over here and add an anchor point. I could add another node, put handles on it, and shape it then. I don't have to do that yet, though. Just wanted you to know that. Remember, if you need to adjust the handles or the nodes, you need to be in the direct selection tool and click on it. Oh, this is a perfect thing. I clicked on something and everything went away. Nothing is wrong. Students start to panic. All you do is have to click on this and it'll come back. Okay, so I want to click on same thing. And I'm just making that sure that's... It looks like something's moved on me though. So I'm going to go Control Z and see if it did. Yeah, it did. I noticed that the line wasn't really following the shape, so I Control Z'd back a couple times to fix it. Okay, let's click on the node to show the handle. And this one's off a little bit, so this line is off the line, so I'm going to work this handle. And I'm just working my way around here. This is pretty good. I don't see the handle anymore on this side, but if I click on it, it should reappear. And like I said, we're always trying to keep what we're working on in the screen so we can have the best view of it. This looks pretty good though. This one looks a little bit off. So I'm just going to click on it and physically move it out a little bit. That's pretty good. And I think we're just about done. I don't like that just yet. I'm going to move that out a little bit. I'm going to move it out. And then that looks better. Okay, I think that's done. Now the best thing to do is to fill it with a color. It doesn't really matter what color, but just for the sake of convenience, I'm going to choose green since I have it. And I'm just going to use the eyedropper tool here. Click on this. And now you'll see, let me just zoom out so you can see everything. Okay, so what I've done here is I've traced a path around here, and if I turn off the background layer, that is your path. And if I zoom in, I'm just going to click to the... If I zoom in, there's no jagged edges. And if I click off it, when it's not selected, there's no handles, right? Now, if you wanted to make it better, you can go back and change it at any type. Basically, that's what you're going to do for your whole drawing. And then save it in the same procedure. I'm not going to do it. That's the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, please refer back to the video or your instructor.